All right, so the topic under discussion today it's emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Emotional intelligence, also known as emotional quotient, denoted by EI or EQ respectively. Emotional intelligence, and this is Daniel Goleman's brainchild. So straight away, the definition: emotional intelligence is defined as the ability of a manager to understand his own emotions as well as the feelings of others. Ability of a manager to understand his own emotions as well as the feelings of others, and others in this context, the term refers to employees or subordinates basically. So, a manager, we'll call him emotionally intelligent if he not only understands his own emotions and feelings, but also gives due consideration to the feelings and emotions of his subordinates, people who are answerable to him, right? So nowadays it's an established fact that managers with a higher EI level, they're better managers. Their decision making powers, they're stronger, and their decisions usually are in the best interest of the organization in the long run. Managers with a higher EI level. So Goldman says that EI or emotional intelligence, it is classified into five competencies, or there are five parts, five elements of emotional intelligence. So I'll guide you through all five, the list of five elements of five competencies. The first one is called self-awareness. Self-awareness, that's number one. Self-awareness, as the name suggests, basically it demands that a manager must carry out, he must conduct a self-analysis first. He needs to conduct a self-analysis. He needs to understand his own personality first. He needs to, identify his own strengths and weaknesses first before he starts interacting with the external stakeholders, or before he formulates a strategy for his department or for his organization. So first of all, self-awareness, that's the first step. He has to make sure that he fully understands and accepts his weaknesses, his strengths. For instance, if he's a short-tempered person, he needs to accept that that's a weakness. Similarly, if there are some strong points, if he's an honest person, for instance, so his integrity, his honesty would be his strong point or his strength. That is step number one, self-awareness. Self-awareness is followed by self-regulation. Self-regulation. So self-regulation, basically, self-regulation and the first one, they are obviously they overlap, but Goldman chose to discuss these two as two different points. Self-regulation, basically, it suggests that the weaknesses and the strengths that the manager identified previously, now he's supposed to do something about these strengths and weaknesses. This is self-regulation. That if there are any weaknesses, he must try and overcome those or eliminate those. If there are some strengths, he must try to retain those strengths. So referring to the previous example, if he's a short-tempered person, so next time he's about to lose temper, he should make an extra effort to control himself and try to overcome this weakness. Similarly, as we were discussing, if he's an honest person, he has to make sure that this is never compromised. He continues to be an honest person. His integrity should be unquestionable. This is self-regulation, right? Self-awareness is all about identification, understanding, or accepting your strengths and weaknesses. And self-regulation is about adopting concrete measures to overcome the weaknesses and retain the strengths. Right? That's self-regulation. This is followed by empathy. Number three is empathy, the third competency. So, managers, emotionally intelligent managers, they're always empathetic towards their employees. They're always empathetic towards their subordinates. Empathy obviously means understanding the problems that others are facing, or basically to view a situation from the angle of another individual, from the angle of the subordinate in this case, showing some consideration, giving some importance to the problems that others are facing? This is empathy. So it is important for a manager to be empathetic towards his employees. And we also must keep in mind that empathy demands flexibility. Empathy demands flexibility. It's very, very important that empathetic managers, they know when to modify the rules and regulations, when to make adjustments, right? Let's suppose there's a manager who receives an application, a loan application or a leave application, for instance, and if he strictly follows the rules and regulations, if he strictly follows the code of conduct, he's supposed to turn down the application under normal circumstances. But if he's an empathetic manager, he would try to be flexible, and he would, before rejecting the application, he would discuss the issue with the leave applicant, and if he feels that it is genuinely a serious issue, and he's managed to establish the fact that the person who has applied for leave, generally there's a reason because of which he has to leave, then he has to show some flexibility. He has to be empathetic, and he has to approve that loan application, right? So empathy demands flexibility, and this is an effective strategy in the long run, because obviously when managers, when they're empathetic towards their employees, when they give consideration to the problems, so in return there's a high probability that these employees will also work in a more productive way, and there'll be a high degree of commitment there, right? So that's empathy. And number 4 is motivation. We all have I think sufficient amount of material as far as motivation is concerned, because there are 7 theories that we have discussed, and motivation, we all have an idea that workers are motivated with the help of financial and non-financial rewards. So basically this is what Goleman is trying to underline here also, that a manager must use a blend of financial and non-financial rewards, monetary and non-monetary incentives, and he needs to motivate his workers, right, with the help of financial rewards, such as it could be a bonus, it could be a good salary, PRP, performance-related pay, or it could be some sort of fringe benefit, accommodation, or maybe training, teamwork. These are all non-financial motivators. So ideally, a manager should use a blend of financial and non-financial motivators, financial and non-financial rewards or incentives, to raise the motivation level of their workers. This is also important, and this is an integral part of emotion intelligence. And finally, social skills. The 5th competency is social skills. So he wants his managers, Daniel Goleman, he wants his managers to have or to possess strong social skills. Managers, they should interact with their workers freely. They should try to remove barriers. They must try to make sure that the workers feel that they are all on the same team. Maybe a democratic style of leadership is what he's suggesting, what he's recommending. Drills such as quality circles, they must always be followed. And the workers, they have to be treated nicely, with courtesy. So social skills, it's a competency, it's an important part of emotional intelligence, but it's essential that we remember the exact definition of social skills, right? Goleman defines it in an interesting way. He says social skills, the term social skills, it is friendliness with a purpose. Friendliness with a purpose. A good definition, a comprehensive one. Friendliness with a purpose. Social skills. That yes, a manager is supposed to socialize with his workers. He's supposed to have, two-way communication with his workers. But that doesn't mean that they become friends in the real sense. Having good social skills doesn't mean that the manager starts hanging out with his workers in the evening also, right? Social skills, the way Daniel Goleman uses the term, it simply suggests that a manager, he should develop a good friendly, cordial relationship with his workers, but there has to be a purpose to it. And the purpose is, as a result of this good treatment, the workers also try to improve their performance level, and they prove to be more productive, and they make a more valuable contribution towards the success and growth of the organization. Right? So social skills, yes, this is also an integral part of emotional intelligence. So basically what we've learned today is that emotional intelligence is a combination of these 5 competencies: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and of course social skills. And an emotionally intelligent manager usually proves to be an effective one, as discussed in all these points that I just highlighted, right? And yes, one last thing, emotional intelligence, though it is a separate topic, an independent topic, and you can expect a separate question based on emotional intelligence, but try to remember that it is highly relevant to leadership also. Emotional intelligence is highly relevant to leadership, right? So if you're attempting any question on leadership, an essay type question, you can easily add a paragraph to it. And, for instance, you can always discuss that leaders, they should be empathetic towards their employees, or they need to have good social skills. So it's highly relevant to leadership also. And I would like you to remember this. In business, if you want to do well, don't confine yourself, don't restrict yourself to a particular topic or to a particular section. Your overall knowledge of the subject, that has to be demonstrated, and feel free to combine points from different sections or topics into one answer. Like I just quoted the example, emotional intelligence is highly relevant to leadership also, right? So this should be it. Hopefully you've understood the concept. Allah Hafiz.